What is up, guys? I wanted to do this series for a while, and it's going to be looking at these overpowered or really strong champions, what's hot and popular right now, why they're so good, but more importantly how you play them. This first episode is going to be on Viktor, and we're going to start with why he's so strong. Now, if you only came here for the guide part, like the runes, masteries, build, then you can press the button on the screen right now and be taken there. Now, Viktor's main strong points are his damage and his lane pressure. So once you upgrade your death ray, your E, which will be your first big purchase, it will do a ton of damage and then even more with the second part. It makes laning against Viktor insanely hard, and even actually just playing against him in general. Like in teamfights, it's actually pretty hard to keep track of where his E is going because of the weird way the skill shot works, so it makes dodging it really hard. Let's just go back to his lane phase for a second. Okay, so he has his shield, he has his empowered auto attack and his death ray, which make trading against him really hard. In simple terms, he's going to outrange you with his rate anyway, but if you do get close enough, he can absorb some of the damage you give to him and trade back a ton with that empowered auto attack. Now, once upgraded, his death ray will clear the back line of minions, so the caster minions, and they leave the front ones really low to finish off with an auto attack. The reason I mention this is because it really opens up the game for Viktor. You can either ward and keep pushing, or you can roam, but more importantly, it forces your opponent to CS under tower, and it stops him from roaming because they can't outpush you. Now that's kind of his lane phase, right? So let's move on to his team fights. Now he doesn't get any weaker as the game goes on. If anything, he actually gets a bit stronger. His death ray has a 70% AP ratio, his ultimate has a base of 55, even his Q has 50%, which means his abilities will scale with how many items and AP you get pretty well. In general though, you bring a huge AoE ultimate, a huge AoE death ray, a tank killer in your Q, and even a stun or a zone tool with your gravity field. What I'm trying to show you in these clips as well is that the range of your death ray is so high that you can play extremely safe in fights while outputting a ton of damage. This is another thing as well, you don't really ever want to chase Viktor, that's when he's really good. He runs away, he aims his death ray back at you as you're running towards him in a straight line, and after a few of those he can probably turn and kill you with his ultimate. So those are all the reasons why he's hot right now, but just to summarize, it's like his damage, his lane pressure, kill potential, he can one-shot people late game, and he's strong early, mid and late game. But he does have some weaknesses, so he doesn't have any mobility or an escape, and that's the biggest thing. It means he can get camped pretty easily, and he does also auto-push the wave with his E, which I said earlier, which makes you a very easy target. So let's move on to the guide part. Masteries are pretty basic, 2109. This is a normal page from basically any mage, and his runes can be pretty standard too. This is a really normal page, just magic pen, ability power, magic resist armor, but the page I like running him is this one. So if you're against a like LeBlanc, then don't take this page because you will die a lot, but this is going to give you the most mid to late game pressure. CDR or cooldown reduction is really good with Viktor, and in theory you should be at the back of the fights away from the enemy AP carry so you don't really need the magic resist. Now, even though Viktor has his hex core which takes up a slot, his build path is really flexible and a lot of things are good on him. The one thing to bear in mind is that you only have 4 item slots. Your hex core and boots takes up 2, so you need to think in advance about your end build, like what it's going to end up as. The only 2 items I will argue are necessary every game eventually are Death Cap and Void Staff, so this leaves you with 2 slots to build whatever you like. Now, as I said earlier, your first proper buy should be your upgraded hex core to upgrade your death ray. When you get the second upgrade is really up to you. It should be used on your Q, but I personally won't get it before I finish my first core item. The third upgrade really doesn't offer you that much until later levels, so depending on the game I'll just upgrade it after my second, third or fourth item. So moving on to the possible items that are actually good on Viktor, and the first one is Abyssal Scepter, and it's really good against heavy AP teams, especially if they are dive heavy people like LeBlanc or Lissandra. This is only going to be worth it if people are going to be in your face, near you. If they have a high range team, then there's no point buying it. Morellonomicon actually gives you a good chunk of AP and CDR, which are both what Viktor wants. So if you aren't as confident about hitting your death ray, like you're not too good at hitting that skill shot, or it's a very slow game, or you want to poke, then this is going to be the ideal second purchase after your upgraded hex core. A death cap is actually also a fine rush on Viktor. His AP ratios are good and he gets AP from that hex core upgrade. This will give you a huge burst in damage once it's completed, but your spells won't be up as often, which means you have to make sure you hit them. This is more of a I'm gonna one shot you build though, rather than poke. Now Zhonya's is also really good on Viktor because he doesn't have an escape, and it's great against dive teams or full AD. If you don't need it though, then it's better just to wait until later to buy it, as the other options are going to give you way more damage, especially when you're going into the mid game. The final item I want to talk about is Lychee, and the reason it's so good is because of his Q. It is kind of weird, but against really tanky teams it is amazing. If you have a tank running at you like a Maokai or Sejuani, then you can Q them, Empowered Auto plus Lychee, and you'll dispatch them really quickly. It's also really good against squishy targets. If someone face checks you, then holy crap, you're gonna one-shot them with this. But that being said, I think this is probably better as a third or fourth item and not before. I have to mention voice stuff or someone is going to pick me up on it, but I said before it should be caught in all of your builds at some point, even if you build it as your fourth, so your last item. So that wraps up this first What's Hot video, and I hope you like it. I hope you like the series idea, but please let me know your feedback. Feedback is really important to me on new series especially, so you like it if you did like it, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.